Well, it's that time of year again, especially if you are on a Christian calendar at all. It's Ash Wednesday. It's time for Lent. It's that time of year where we're starting to move from the via negativa into the via creativa. We're moving from the time of letting go of winter into the time of new birth in spring. And so we need to make space within ourselves so that we can find self growth and find those seeds that need to be planted and put them into the earth so that they can grow. This is a time of fasting because it's a way of developing discipline. The tradition is to give something up for Lent, for these days between now and Palm Sunday, to give something up. A lot of people give up chocolate, beer. Good way to learn about yourself. I want to give up something very specific this year. I think that this is something we can do as a collective practice. You might think I'm over exaggerating that we can do this, but I think it's a practice that we can at least get started. I think we should give up authoritarianism for Lent and then learn that we don't need to pick it up again on the other side. So let's talk about that as we walk together down creation's paths. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christo-pagan druid and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christo-pagan druid and sous chef to the Dogdo.
Today, we're going to be doing a special Lenten episode, special Ash Wednesday episode, where we are going to be talking about giving up authoritarianism for Lent. I know what you're probably thinking, Charlie. How do? And we're going to talk about that. But before we do, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever the app is you're listening to us on. We do 5 original Christo-pagan and druid episodes Monday through Friday, and you don't want to miss a thing. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. All right, let's just get into it. What does it mean?
Why even practice Lent? So I give up ice cream for a month. What does it really do? Other than I might lose a little bit of weight from not eating so much ice cream, but other than that, what is the significance in the whole thing?
So in the older Aeonic way of thinking of things, if I can use Aleister Crowley's language because it works, it's about sacrifice to an angry God who needs to be propitiated through our suffering. And I'm calling shenanigans on that.
Yeah, I'm not here to practice attrition in homage to an imperial church.
Yeah, no. I do think that fasting and various forms of fasting are helpful for us in that they help us to develop discipline. And so we have to be very careful what we're giving up and make sure that it's something that's safe and that we can do healthfully, because if you are fasting and getting yourself ill, then you're over on the other side. Also, remember, fasting is not something that is required of Christians, as Jesus repeatedly says throughout the Gospels. Why would they fast when the bridegroom is amongst them? Yeah, that's a good point. But if you don't make a big fuss about it, you don't make a big display, you just endure because you're building that discipline within yourself.
And that's the first thing, is it's about the journey itself, the constant challenge of, oh, I want ice cream. And the act of standing up and saying, no, I promised myself I would not do this right now. I made that commitment, exercising discipline over and over and over again during that period of the fast is a wonderful way to build up that muscle and to get better about exercising discipline and having it.
There's a practice in the 1-year manual by Israel Regardie, which we have recommended on the show in the past, where you take an entire month and refrain from using the first person, and you cannot refer to yourself at all. So you can't start talking about yourself in the third first person, like Charlie once or Charlie. Now, you can't refer to yourself at all for a month. The whole point of it is to develop discipline. And I highly recommend it for those of you who haven't given it a try.
I think the other thing that you get from doing a practice like this is you get an opportunity to dance in the via negativa through letting go of something and letting it be for a period of time. You get to see how your life is without it, and you get to see how it does impact your life and in what way it impacts your life. Charlie had a very profound Lent experience years ago.
Yeah.
They learned a lot about themselves from that. I'm letting Charlie speak on that if they wish to, but it was by letting go of certain thing for a period of time, they got to learn how that thing was influencing their lives in ways that they weren't aware.
Yeah, that it had more control over me than I thought.
Yeah. and they were able to put it back into a proper context, back into a humility, and live in right relationship with that thing. And for that reason, this is why, if I choose to participate in the fasting practice of Lent, I always want to make sure that my intentions are set right at the beginning, that I'm giving up something not only to exercise that discipline, which is always good, but also to see what my actual relationship is with that thing that I've given up, how my life is without it, which is also why this year we're recommending giving up authoritarianism.
So how do you do that? I'm sure you're asking yourself.
Well,
Well,
I'm sitting back going, don't have authoritarianism in my life. Why
no,
would it
everyone
even
does.
matter?
Everyone does. Everyone does. And no, this is
It's true. Everyone does.
it's the greatest misunderstanding of what authoritarianism is. Authoritarianism is fear. That's it. It can boil down to just one emotion. It's either the fear that intentionally burst in someone else or that is taken advantage of in someone else, that is rooted in the fears and insecurities of the person doing the bad thing. So allow it in a state of fear. And I get it. It'd be scary. There are terrifying to live through. I'm not going to my past traumas here, but trust me, I know where authoritarianism is it tells you that it has a easy and seductive answer. I can take away your fear. I can make you feel like you don't have to worry about losing your job. I can reduce the price of eggs. I can bring prices down for you. I can make you not have to feel food insecure or job insecure. And those fears and insecurities are the round robin of fear. An authoritarian is somebody whose fear and insecurity is so strong that they have to inspire more fear and insecurity in others so that they feel strong by comparison. Authoritarians can only take power if there is an exploitable fear and insecurity in the people they are trying to exploit.
That fear robs people of their choice. It either drives or seduces them into giving up their choice in the situation and into believing that this is the easy way. It's like a numbing agent for the brain, where the brain stops thinking about the thing and just gives into that numbness and then is driven. And it's where they give up their power. And the authoritarian just leads them all. They blindly follow at that point.
You can't have one without the other. So while you may not be in a governmental position or in a position of power where you can exercise that kind of control over others, though I will say be very mindful about this, especially if you are a parent, because a lot of parents have the problem of wielding their own insecurities and fears over their children. And yeah, that's problematic. When it comes to governments, they want to exploit these fears, these insecurities within us so that they can have power over us. And we can't allow that. We cannot allow that. So how do you give up authoritarianism for Lent? I actually have an old remedy for this. There is a way to do this that is time tested and World War II approved, a way that we actually conquered and defeated authoritarianism last time it reared its ugly. And that is through the four freedoms. These are the things that we can practice. These are the things that we can do actively and affirmatively and make sure that we're always standing up for, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to defeat authoritarianism. Now, these four freedoms come from a speech that FDR gave on January 6, 1941, in his State of the Union address. The four freedoms are freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. Now, you'll notice the power of this is it's two affirmative freedoms and two negative freedoms. It's two freedoms to do something and a freedom to not have something. If I can quote our former president, in the future days, which we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon four essential human freedoms. The first is the freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. The second is the freedom of every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. The third is the freedom from want, which translated into world terms means economic understandings which will secure to every nation a healthy peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. The fourth is the freedom from fear, which translated into world terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression to any neighbor anywhere in the world. That is no vision of a distant millennia. It is a definite basis for a kind of world attainable in our own time and generation. That kind of world is the very antithesis of the so-called new order of tyranny, which the dictators seek to create with the crash of a bomb. And as we're approaching these times where authoritarianism feels like it's on the rise, these four freedoms, even personalized even more than that, are the way that we give up authoritarianism. We need to stand up for the freedom of speech and expression for everyone. Is there exceptions to that? Yes. Hate speech. You can't tolerate the intolerable.
This is where I bring up that these freedoms come with responsibility.
Yes.
Speech and expression, there's still this responsibility to live in right relationship with those that are hearing our words.
Yep.
This is the answer to, should you lie to someone? Well, how is that living in right relationship with the person you're speaking to?
Assault is a verbal crime.
Assault is a verbal crime. There's that responsibility. So yes, there should be free speech. People should be allowed to speak their mind, to have conversations on topics. It's important to allow that because it's how thoughts and ideas can share and spread, but there's also that responsibility.
The freedom of expression, how somebody wants to dress, how they want to live their life, how they want to self-actualize, how they want to go about their life. We need to allow for people to be themselves. This first freedom is so vital in defeating authoritarianism, because when you let people actually talk, because authoritarians have to shut people up. There's a party line that you cannot violate. And we are seeing that orthodoxy trying to be built now. This isn't about, well, if I want to question science. No, you can question science. There's just a method for doing that. You need to do a study and submit it to peer review. It's not that you can't have an opinion about science. It's we have a procedure for that. You're talking out of turn. You're not talking in the correct language. It's like if I were trying to do this podcast in German right now, Brian would have no idea what I was saying because I'm not talking in a language that he understands, right? Yes, you can have your own opinions about medicine and science, but you have to do them in the language of medicine and science. You have to do the peer-reviewed studies. You have to speak the language of medicine and science. And that's the problem. They don't want to speak the language of medicine and science, but they want to have an opinion anyway. They don't want to speak the language that we have decided is how we talk about these things. And that's where it all becomes dangerous. They want to talk about people that are poisoning the blood of society. No one is poisoning the blood of society. That's not a thing. That's a weird idea that I don't know how people still fall for it. Guaranteeing this first freedom to people who are acting in good faith and not practicing hate speech or verbal assault. Yes, we have to do that. Stand up for people that are being put down. Stand up for people that they're trying to silence. Stand up for people and their freedom of expression. The second one, I almost wish wasn't necessary to put on this list anymore. And that's the freedom of worship, this freedom to practice and worship however you want. But since we are facing down Christian nationalism, like, I believe in Jesus, I pray to Jesus, and I don't care if anyone listening to the sound of my voice does or not. Your faith doesn't affect my faith. That's called having actual faith, right? I want to point out something to you, because for anybody who's like, but we're here to convert the heathens. When the centurion comes to Jesus, Jesus just says, your faith has made you whole. Go away. He doesn't say, oh, and by the way, stop praying to your pagan gods. He doesn't convert him. He doesn't baptize him. He makes no effort to convert him. When he talks to the Samaritan woman at the well, he makes no effort, none, because that's not what this is about. The freedom that we are preaching is that freedom from guilt, that freedom from the law, that freedom from oppression, setting the slaves free, right? Setting the captives free, healing the crushed who are crushed under the yoke of oppression. That's the gospel. Jesus isn't out there trying to convert people, and he's Jesus. So don't tell me I have to worry about what other people are thinking or what they think about Jesus. Jesus didn't care. Jesus said about himself, if you don't believe in me, at least believe in the work that I did. Well, what is the work that he did? Healing people, making sure people were kind to each other, making sure people were fed, making sure people were clothed, that they had the weight of oppression lifted off of them. That's the work.
And to just drive that point thoroughly home, even when the disciples are running around going, oh no, you can't be doing this and you can't be doing that because you're not following us. Even when they engaged in convert the heathen kind of activity, Jesus chastised them and said, no, they're okay. It's okay.
Don't do that. No one
Yeah,
who's
let them be.
no one who does this work can lightly speak ill of me. Like, just like, if you're going to call yourself a Christian, at least listen to Jesus. At least listen to Jesus. If you're not going to listen to anybody else, at least listen to Jesus. Jesus didn't care about any of that, which is why I don't care if anybody else believes in Jesus or not. It's not because I don't care if other people are going to go to hell. It's because I know hell is not a real place. Hell is a place that was invented in the 1300s as a way for people to get over the trauma of the Black Death.
And later became a tool of the imperial church to propagate authoritarianism.
That's right.
Yeah. So, part of giving up authoritarianism, if you still have a lot of hell in your life, give up hell for Lent.
Yeah.
Stop holding on to hell.
See, these are the libertarianisms that we have in our life, right? Like, everyone has a little of this. The freedom of worship is also the freedom from worship. Like, if you don't believe in anything, more power to you. Like, it's about having that freedom to however you see fit. If your idea of meeting the divine is going on a nature walk and seeing a beautiful vista, or watching the stars at night, or sitting down and watching Love Island on the TV, like, I don't get you there, but more power to you. That's where people meet that power in their life, right? More power to you. Everyone should have the freedom to do that. Okay. The third freedom. This is the one that is currently under assault in our country right now. The freedom from want. You should be able to eat. Don't you wish that we had gone forward with this? What would the world been like without President Truman? What would the world have been like without Truman?
Yeah. I think people get confused because the thing is, want is, it's going back to that basics, that commonality that is in all people. Everyone wants that good life. A good life isn't having this thing or having that thing. It's not about possession. A good life is just that. It's being able to enjoy food, have shelter, drink,
Medicine.
being able to have community. That's what the good life is.
This is something that we could do 100 times over, but people don't want to do it, right?
This is where capitalism and authoritarianism kind of kick in, and they use the language of capitalism and some of the tools of capitalism to propagate that fear. There's scarcity, so therefore you must want this, because if you don't want it and take it, someone else is going to take it and that won't exist.
And most of that scarcity is fake. How did FDR put it? Translated into world terms means economic understandings which will secure to every nation a healthy peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. That's the freedom from want. You don't have to worry about food. You don't have to worry about shelter. You don't have to worry. You don't have that want. We can support each other. This is where mutual aid comes in. This is where mutual aid becomes so important. This is where we can help each other out. If you don't know any other way to do this practice of giving up authoritarianism for Lent, maybe you're living in a blessed country that's not struggling like we are, and thank God for that. But I know Germany's going through it. I know there's some struggles going on in Britain right now. If you're in a place where you're not struggling with this, just bake some cookies, some bread, or make a nice casserole and give it to somebody. Practice a little mutual aid. Find out something that somebody needs and get it for them. Pay for the food at the people behind you at the drive-thru. Do some kind of mutual aid, even if it's tiny. Even if it's tiny, just do a little something, because that's how we get through and actually start making this freedom from want. Making sure no one's going hungry, going cold at night, not having a roof over their head.
A lot of times on that, just lending someone your ear, just
Yeah.
for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 15 minutes. It's not like
Yep.
it's a lot of time, because a lot of times people just want someone to be able to talk with and to listen to them, to hear what they actually have to say. Even if what they have to say, the words itself might not even mean anything to even the person engaging in sharing those words. It's that connection, that interaction, connection with another person.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that really buys a lot of the whole social media has ruined us, because I think social media has just held up a mirror and shown us our true face, and we don't like what we're seeing in it. But one of the ways I will agree that it has ruined us, it has taught us to talk without listening. It has reinforced in us this idea that we should talk without listening. No, we need to listen, because listening actually helps with all of the first three, and even with the fourth. That fourth freedom, the freedom from fear. Now, FDR was very specific that this was about disarmament. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. That's something that Eisenhower warned us about when he talked about the military industrial complex and the dangers that it posed and still poses. Look, there's some bad people in the US government right now, metaphorically and on stage. I'm not going to say what I want to say because I don't want to get sued by that man, because he's litigious, wielding, apparently, allegedly under the influence, wielding a chainsaw, every part of our government. But they're not going after the military spending because they're making money off of it. They're not cutting money for arms. And that's where you really need to really start thinking about this. If the solution to your problem is everyone should have a gun, that's trying to get us to the bad version of the Old West in movies, and not trying to get people to where we want to be. And that's this freedom of fear. Freedom from fear, at the heart of it, is having a sense of security, that no one's going to kick the door into your house. No one's going to invade your country. No one is going to, I don't know what I can say because of some of the restrictions on YouTube or Spotify here. No one's going to do any of the bad, violent things that we see all throughout the news media happening around the world, and periodically from time to time. And there are ways that we can engage in this too, again, through mutual aid and support, making sure that people know if anything happens, we've got your back. If an ICE agent asks you, where is this building? Don't speak English. Learn another language. You don't have to say it. Just pretend that you don't understand them.
Everyone likes to say the Fifth Amendment. You can just go First Amendment. We answered First Amendment.
Yeah.
Don't tell them you have the right to freedom of speech. They cannot compel you to speak upon that without court-ordered subpoena. They're not going to go through the effort to file for a subpoena with a judge just to come back to find out where a building is. They'll actually not be lazy and Google it.
These are the principles that beat fascism the first time. If you watch old World War II films, footage of the soldiers and stuff, you'll see a lot of different flags on the vehicles. One of them is a flag with 4 pillars on it. That's these 4 principles. These became the marching orders of the Allies. This is what they were fighting for. Because the biggest trick that authoritarianism plays on us is this idea that freedom is scary. Freedom isn't scary. Liberty isn't scary. Yeah, it can feel good sometimes to have somebody else tell you what to do, especially when you don't know what to do. When you feel helpless, it's nice to have somebody to come in and help you out. That's what mutual aid is for. Coming in and helping people out when they don't have answers, being there for each other and making sure that we get to where we need to get together. But the answer is never the dear leader. That's true in every authoritarian place. Some of you, hearing the sound of my voice, need to leave your church, because your church is an authoritarian institution and it's fighting against you on these 4 freedoms. Some of you are going to have to leave your schools. Some of you might suddenly feel, oh, that's why I don't like my job.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, corporations are authoritarian states. We just call them businesses because it makes it prettier. What we have to do in this time, and especially in this season, is give up fear. And I know that sounds hard to do, because it's not the same as saying never being afraid. It's kind of like that analogy of pain and suffering. Like everybody has pain, but suffering is a choice. Everyone's afraid sometimes, but bravery, courage is overcoming that fear. It's pushing through that fear. It's getting to the other side of that fear.
This is why I love the mantra put forth in the Dune books. And I say books very clearly, not the new movie stuff, but the books, because it is all about standing up to fear. Because that's the thing is fear is going to happen. During this Lent season, giving up that authoritarianism, facing our fears, we need to learn to pause so that we're not reactive and take the choice to face the fear. Doesn't mean that we don't have fear. We're literally standing face to face with it. We're looking it in the eyes, but then see it for what it honestly is. So many times you'll find out that what was that big scary monster turned out to be a shadow of a little innocent bunny rabbit, or it was just a garden hose in the yard all along. It's an illusion, and the illusion disappears when you stand and face it, looking at its end of the eye. A lot of these fears that are pushed onto the public right now by these authoritarianistic principalities are just that. A lot of them are illusions, or a lot of them are blown way out of proportion. And by choosing to face them, you give yourself that time to really look at them closer, and you realize, oh, we'd already talked about budget cuts in that case. No, nobody wants to waste money on stuff. That's the fear of presenting itself as a big monster. But if you look closely at it and you go, wait, if I'm trying to cut 10% of I'm only saving $1. If I'm cutting 10% of $1,000, I'm saving $100. So to get that same $100, I'd have to cut 100% of 10 things. So does it make sense to go after these small things to try to get to that $100? And you suddenly realize, wait, they were trying to use fear to drive me into going, we must cut the budget, because that statement in itself may be right, but it might just be the big shadow on the wall that's being cast by the little bunny sitting in the corner.
So Brian mentioned the prayer from the book, not from the movie. The movies often paraphrase it. If I may quote from the book, because I think this is a very powerful litany, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. It's different from the way it usually shows up in the movies. I'm going to say it one more time. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone, gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Fear is an illusion. It's a persistent illusion that comes at us like a freight train, like a storm, telling us that it is the most important, most powerful, most vicious thing in the world. And when you get to the other side of the fear, you realize that it was all an illusion. It was a lot of dharma strings symbolizing nothing. And it's hard to get there. And it can be hard to get through to the other side. It can be hard to get through the other side. I'm not saying that any of this is going to be easy for any of us. But what we have to do if we're going to get to the other side is give up fear and help others to give up fear, because that's how we give up authoritarianism for Lent.
Practice is how we'll do it.
Yep.
Practice will develop that discipline.
I hope this episode has helped you out. I don't know what to say to put into the chat. Is there a white rose emoji? Because that would be very appropriate for this. But if you have any questions, comments, or anything, you can always put them in the comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube or Spotify, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if they say you can leave a comment, they don't notify us. So leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to creationspaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a comment there. This is normally where I would tell you how to support us. I'm actually going to ask you to find an organization in your neighborhood, in your town, in your local area, and support them, whether that's with your time, your volunteerism, or your money, that's helping other people out and helping people get through these dark and dangerous times. And don't let anyone fool you into thinking it's the HRC. They're doing a lot of grabs for money right now, and they are not doing anything to help the queer community out. Do not support them. I normally end with a prayer, and I think we're going to end it with that same one, because I think it's the prayer that we need right now. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Amen.